Alright, let's spray out some rims, shall we? Left over from like a couple of years ago, and it's still actually good. I just checked it. So I'm going to burn this up on this corner. A good place to use some of that, because I'll just grind it off, most of it. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about body filler. And the question is everybody says, is it okay to use body filler on a repair? Is it okay for me to have filler on my repair? Because, you know, I've always heard that it cracks and this and that. Okay, so for years and years and years, body men have been doing good body work using filler, even back to the 60s and 70s. And in the most recent years, like this body filler here has flexibility to it, where the old fillers, you could, if it just was so rigid that if it, you know, moved a little bit, it cracked. The reason they came up with a lot of that is because of the thinner panels today versus the old cars back in the old days didn't have the thinner panels, and you didn't need flexibility in the filler. So a lot of people have this misconception that Bondo cracks and filler cracks, and it always is no good. And it's because they were burned by somebody who did it wrong. So if you do your filler over bare metal, any of the fillers pretty much will work over bare metal. There are a few that actually now spec to go over sanded E-coat original paint. A lot of these things like that is in. They're more high-grade fillers than they were, and some of those even add flexibility into it so that the panel can flex and stress and still not crack. Some of these ones, like this one here, you put it on a test board, on a test piece of metal, and you could bend it, you know, like I don't know how many degrees before it would finally crack. I mean, it's very, very, very flexible now compared to what it was back in the old days. So a lot of people think they have to get all their metalwork metal finished, you know, to get a good job, or lead. You know, there's an old saying, lead is better than Bondo, whatever. I've seen lead crack. So all of it can fail, you know, if it's done wrong. So the thing is you just need to trust the person doing the work. You know, if you need to do your own work and do your own research. You know, you need to trust that person to know whether they're doing it right, they're putting it on over bare metal, or if they're using the correct product. If they're using the old stuff, they have the new stuff that's cheap, you know, and it goes on like the old stuff did. And if it's on an old metal car, it's fine. Maybe on a newer car where you have a lot of movement in the panel, it might have an issue with cracking, the old finish, old stuff, where the new stuff won't. So it just depends on, you know, the newer technology, I'm going to say, not new product, because you could, you know, they have new products that are out that are the old school style products. So it's all, if it's done right, and if it's on metal, if it's on correctly, you know, if it's on a surface that's unstable, then it's not going to last. And that's where there's this bad reputation with fillers. So anyway, you know, right, let's sand this down. Get you guys about right there. Put on my little mask. You know, grab my sandpaper. Just a second. Yeah, so once I put the primer on, I'll be doing more blocking. So the other side is not done. Some comments on that. And I'm not finished over there yet. But I just wanted to get it so you guys could see. I'll speed this up a little bit. This is, I'm just using 60 to knock it down real quick. Over here, you can see a little better. And I'll do a quick 180. I'll use 150. Sometimes I use 180. I use 150. Faster. Alright, got this thing primed here, finished up. This section had to do some heat shrinking right here. Because the last time they did it, it looked like they maybe, you know, back in the old days, people had to use a torch to do body work. You know, you had a torch to do metal welding, or you had, you know, arc welder, and you couldn't arc weld steel. I mean, not many people had MIGs, so probably back when they did that, it was done with a torch, and it warped the hell out of this section. So I had to heat shrink that, bring it down. If you notice, the roundness isn't exactly right on this part. That's those cheap parts. You can fix them if you want. You could probably make it right, whatever. Not a big deal to me. But the corner's all done. It's got some waves in it. Gonna need to be, I did just DA it. This is gonna need to be hand blocked a little bit to get the roundness around the bottom. Of course, most of that, 99% of that, will come out with one block. There'll be a couple places with some glazing that I'll have to do on these both corners. So I primed up here, finished up this section up here, primed that, so you can see how that's looking. I mean, this thing's gonna look. You can see the correct shape is going around here. And the apron's on, which I shot that with a real coat of primer. I used just some spray can stuff last time, and I only got one coat on it right now, so you can see it's flashing. It needs another heavy coat of primer. I'll just go through and just hit this, sand this down, and I'll put another coat on here when I'm priming something next. So it's kind of what I do is I'll see this here that needs to be worked out too. And all that stuff's going to get done with primer. A lot of people think you got to get it all with filler. You get that stuff with the primer. It's much faster and easier to do with primer. So like there's all these dings here, catch all those. Somebody was saying that there were some waves. It's actually probably what you're looking at. Like this is a dry spot in the primer. Stuff like a lot of that stuff is not really waves. It's not that bad, just a little bit, but it has to be blocked. You can't just prime it and expect that first coat of primer to do all the finish. I mean, I'd say 90% of your bodywork is actually in the primer and blocking. If you're spending too much time on your actual filler, then maybe you should stop and prime it and then prime and block it and use glazing, because it's a lot easier to find those low spots and high spots, because you'll just sand through it and you can easily see the high spots, and then you just tap them down. Especially if you use good filler. If you use the cheap filler, that's when you might have issues with cracking, where the fillers that I use are flexible. So high stress panels, AG47 and the Auto Art Eurofill are both flexible a little bit. They're not like real flexible for flexible fillers, but they have some. So real quick, I'm going to throw the wheels on, throw the tires on the wheels. Here's the wheels painted. Look pretty good. There's some dust in there. Something fell in it. It comes right out pretty much. But I got those painted. These are going to be bright white. The bumpers are going to be bright white, and then there's going to be pearl white on the van, and the emblem is going to be bright white with pearl white. What do you guys think? That's original. So that's what we're going to do. I thought it would look kind of neat. To be all original, clean looking van. That's what I thought. That would fit a nice camper. Be incognito. Be great for doing like a what do they call them? Boondocking camping. You know, if my friend ends up with it, that's what he's going to do. He's going to boondock camp all the way across the United States in it. So I don't know. It all depends on if he can cough up the Benjamins on this thing when it's done. I don't know if he'll be able to. It's going to be kind of expensive, but still be cheap compared to what they go through or go for. So we'll check this out. Put this on hyperlapse so you guys watch it. Alright, so some of you guys might be wondering, why am I not using lube? And people wonder why I do that. They go, well, use lube, it makes it easier. I'm going to tell you why. Okay, what happens when you let your tire sit on the ground like this? This tire is no problem because it'll just air up no matter what. But if you put it up like this on an elevated area, okay, and you seat the top bead. In other words, that's why I do with a hammer. I take the hammer and hit the rim a little bit and pull up on the tire so that the tire is seated on this bead just a little bit. If you use lube, you can't do that. Seat it up on the bead just a little bit and then gently push the tire downward. Okay, and what happens is it's already seated up here. It's nice and tight. If it's lube, it'll just slide right back off. But if it's up there nice and tight, you can kind of push it just a little bit down and it'll seat the bottom bead so you can air it up. So you use gravity. So you use the weight of the tire pulling down to make it so you can put air in it. Otherwise, you'll be sitting there with a strap, trying to put a strap around it and all that stuff. So I'm a backyard tire. I've been doing tires like this for years. I found out it takes me a lot longer to go to the tire store than it does just for me to do it myself. It takes me longer to drive there and back just to put the whole tire on the rim. So this way I do it. So all the tires are on. There you go. All set to go in the car. We'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Keep watching this build. It's going to be really cool to see this thing come together. We really got to get on those doors and get on the front, and then I'll be getting on the cargo or the front floor. We'll be doing also a steering wheel removal video. I'm going to do one showing you exactly step by step how to get it off with the least amount of damage without using a special tool. And I would just basically a puller, but a different kind of puller. So stay tuned for those videos coming. I'll be doing also a fill video for the inside, finishing out these doors. These are not even near ready because I have to do all this repair first. Kind of got ahead of me when I was out of town. Chris could have got a little carried away there. I wasn't quite ready for that yet. But he did do the roof, which I'm really excited about. The roof and the drip rail. You can see that drip rail is super clean. You never see them like that. So you can imagine once the bottom's all tight and rust free, this is going to be a really nice bus. There's not going to be that many of them that are this nice. There's a few, but And then I'll be filling in a lot of this stuff too. I don't know if I'll do that on camera or off camera. Who knows? I'll probably do it in hyperlapse if I do anything. And then I'll have that all done. And then you can see this is really looking good. When this is all filled in, that's just got a rough coat of filler on there. When it's all filled in, it's going to look perfect. You won't even know. Nobody would ever know what was done. And it'll look great. It'll work right. And that's really the thing we're looking for, isn't it? How it's done is basically, like I say, always bragging rights.